Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking an absolutely fascinating journey into the nervous system. Accompanied by our cozy paper-cut cat friend and a few other animal companions we'll meet along the way, we are going to dive deep beneath the surface of the skin, straight into the brain. We want to see exactly how physical sensations turn into lasting, permanent memories. We'll be exploring the whole shebang, from the tiny sparks of electricity in our cells, all the way to how we can literally rewrite our own fears. So let's kick things off with a question that really sets up our core theme today of perception and how our brains make sense of the outside world. Have you ever wondered why a gentle, comforting stroke on the arm feels completely, wildly different from a sudden sharp tap on the shoulder? I mean, your skin is receiving physical contact in both scenarios, right? But your brain interprets them as entirely different experiences. To understand why that happens, we have to look at the very building blocks of our nervous system. Section 1. The neural firing network. To really understand feelings, memories, or behaviors, we've got to start at the microscopic level to see how our brain cells actually communicate. At the absolute foundation of all this brain activity is something called an action potential. Think of it like a tiny, super fast spark of electricity just jumping from one neuron to the next. When a stimulus reaches a neuron, it fires off this electrical impulse, carrying essential information across the massive, sprawling network of your brain. Without these action potentials, we wouldn't be able to process a single thing about our environment. And what's really wild is that our biology is actually paving the way for the future of technology. Scientists and engineers are currently using these exact biological action potentials and the rules of neuroplasticity to design advanced artificial intelligence models. They're called spiking neural networks, or SNNs for short. By mimicking the way our physical neurons fire and wire together, researchers are creating AI that can process temporal data and learn to recognize patterns just like we do. It's a real game changer. Moving on to Section 2, the magic of gentle touch. Let's zoom out from those microscopic neurons to the surface of our skin to explore the undeniable biological magic of physical contact. You know, our skin is our largest sensory organ, and it is packed with this very special kind of nerve called C-tactile fibers. Found specifically in the hairy skin of our bodies, these are basically our hidden happiness nerves. While other nerves act like alarms to instantly alert us to sharp pain, C-tactile fibers transmit much slower sensations. We're talking temperature, itch, and most importantly, deep, deep sensations of pleasure and comfort. And they mature very early on, right around the time a baby is born. Now get this, there's actually a precise mathematical rhythm to affection. Research shows that the optimal stroking speed to trigger these specific C-tactile fibers is exactly 4 to 5 centimeters per second. That is not just some random number, it's a natural maternal rhythm. It's the exact speed a mother intuitively uses when comforting her baby, or, the speed you'd naturally use to gently pet a happy little cat like our friend here. The biological consequences of this specific kind of touch are just massive. On the positive side, gentle touch actively boosts serotonin, that's our happy hormone, along with vital growth hormones, while simultaneously stabilizing a baby's heart rate and breathing. Conversely, a lack of touch actually spikes cortisol, our stress hormone. Without this tactile stimulation, an infant's emotional and physical development, including their height and weight, can literally be stunted. Section 3. Processing positive and negative stimuli. So we've taken in these sensations, but how do we judge them? Let's move to the brain's evaluation center, the Nucleus accumbens, to find out. Literally every single moment, your brain is rapidly classifying external stimuli to keep you safe. It essentially drops everything into one of two buckets. The first is appetitive. These are the positive stimuli, like a reward or a friendly face, which trigger an approach behavior. The second bucket is aversive. These are negative or dangerous things, which immediately trigger an avoid response for our own survival. Deep inside the nucleus accumbens, this evaluation is handled by D1 and D2 neurons. Now, contrary to the old scientific belief that these two types of neurons were strict opposites, recent advanced imaging in mice, much like the little guy our cat friend just spotted, has revealed something completely new. D1 and D2 neurons actually fire and work together in a highly complementary way to process both the positive and the negative events we experience. But here is where it gets absolutely fascinating. Let's say you've learned to fear a specific sound, but over time the environment changes and that sound is no longer dangerous at all.
Crucially, researchers discovered that it is the D2 neurons that specifically step in to help erase that old fear. They are absolutely essential for extinguishing an aversive association once a negative stimulus is no longer harmful.
This brings us to a really powerful insight from researcher Karina Suarez-Cunha. Think about a firework, right? To most people, it means joy and celebration. But to a combat veteran, that exact same sound might trigger intense anxiety because the brain struggles to modify that old negative association. By mapping out how these D2 neurons can rewrite negative memories in mice, scientists could be on the verge of developing groundbreaking new treatments for human trauma, anxiety, and PTSD. Which leads us to Section 4, Attention and Emotion Regulation. Moving forward, let's examine how our brain focuses on all these stimuli using the incredible power of attention. I love this analogy. Think of your attention as a highly adjustable flashlight operating across brain regions like the frontal and parietal lobes. You basically have 4 main settings. You've got selective, where you narrow your beam onto a single target. Divided, where the light scatters to focus on multiple tasks at once. Sustained, where you hold a steady beam over a long period of time. And shifting, where you quickly move the beam of focus from one thing to another. Now, where you point that flashlight totally dictates your emotional regulation. Step 1, completely out of your control. An initial stimulus will provoke an unavoidable emotion. You can't help feeling scared or angry initially. But step 2 is vital. Your brain's frontal lobe allows you to pause and cognitively reevaluate the situation. By intentionally shifting your attention, you reach step 3, where you can actually choose a conscious, healthier behavioral response instead of just lashing out. Finally, Section 5, Learning through long-term potentiation. Let's wrap this up by exploring how paying attention to these stimuli permanently wires them into our memory. To really understand memory, we first have to talk about neural pruning. Fun fact, babies are born with a massive surplus of neurons. It's literally the most they will ever have in their entire lives. Just like a tailor cutting away excess fabric, a baby's brain will physically prune away neural connections that just aren't being stimulated by their environment. It's a ruthless game of use it or lose it, all to ensure the brain runs as efficiently as possible. But for the neural connections that do survive the cut, something amazing happens. Repeated firing of those specific neurons triggers a process called long-term potentiation, or LTP. When you repeatedly experience a stimulus or practice a new skill, LTP physically strengthens the synaptic connections between those specific brain cells. They bind closer together, ensuring that the next time you need to recall that memory, the electrical spark jumps across completely effortlessly. To wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a thought about the incredible plasticity of your own mind. From the gentle 4 centimeter per second touch of a loved one activating your C tactile fibers to your D2 neurons helping you let go of old fears, your brain is physically changing every single day. So as you navigate your own world, much like our cozy paper-cut cat exploring theirs, what kind of world are you building for your own neural network today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.
Knowledge grows through sharing. What are your thoughts on today's topic? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe as we continue to grow together.